The paint was already seeping through the glass frame when I walked into my parents' living room that Saturday afternoon. My nephew Tyler, all 12 years old, stood holding an empty can of bright blue acrylic paint, his face a mixture of pride and nervousness. The medical degree I'd earned after 8 years of grueling work, 4 years of undergraduate studies, 4 years of medical school, countless nights studying, thousands of hours of clinical rotations, hung crooked on the wall, completely ruined. The ornate script of my name was barely visible beneath the streaks of blue. What happened? I asked calmly, setting down the bakery box I'd brought for dessert. My voice was steady though my hands wanted to shake. Tyler glanced at his father, my older brother Marcus, who leaned against the doorframe with his arms crossed and a satisfied expression on his face. Uncle Marcus said doctors are just losers who think they're better than everyone else. He said your degree doesn't mean anything. He said it was just expensive wallpaper. I turned to Marcus. He shrugged, not even bothering to hide his smirk. Come on, David. It's just a piece of paper. You can print another one for, what, $20? Besides, Tyler's right. You walk around here acting like you're something special because you went to medical school. Newsflash. You're still the same kid who couldn't make the basketball team. My mother emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She glanced at the ruined diploma and sighed. Marcus, that was inappropriate. David worked hard for that. Oh please, Mom. He's a resident. He makes less than I do in sales and I didn't need 8 years of school. Face it, David made a bad investment. My father didn't even look up from his newspaper. Your brother has a point. All that debt for what? You're 32 and still living in that cramped apartment. I pulled out my phone and took several photos of the damage. Of Tyler still holding the paint can, of Marcus's satisfied expression. I need to go. I have some emails to send. See? Marcus laughed. Always running away. Can't even stand up for yourself. I didn't respond. I simply walked to my car, got in and drove home. That evening I sat at my laptop and composed 2 carefully worded emails. The first went to Jennifer Hartley, Director of Human Resources at St. Catherine's Medical Center. The second went to Dr. Patricia Morrison, Chair of the Hospital Board. I attached the photos, provided a detailed account of the incident, and referenced the hospital's Code of Conduct policy regarding workplace harassment and professional ethics. Marcus didn't know it yet, but his sales position was at St. Catherine's Medical Center. He worked in the Pharmaceutical Liaison Department, selling medical equipment and supplies to various departments. It was a good job with excellent commission potential. He also didn't know that 3 months ago, I'd been promoted from chief resident to deputy chief of medicine. The announcement hadn't been made public yet because I'd requested a delay. I wanted to finish my current rotation without the politics that came with the title. Only the board, the hospital administrator and the department heads knew. Marcus had spent the last 5 years bragging about his sales numbers, his commission checks, his company car. He'd introduced me at family gatherings as my little brother, still in training. He'd made jokes about my income, my schedule, my student loans. He had no idea that I was now one of the people who approved or denied his sales contracts with the hospital. The following Monday I went to work as usual. My pager went off at 6:15 in the morning. A trauma case in the emergency department needed immediate attention. I spent 3 hours in surgery, then made rounds on my patients, then attended a departmental meeting. At 2 o'clock my office phone rang. Jennifer Hartley. Dr. Morrison and I received your email, she said. We need to discuss this matter. Can you come to the administration building at 4? I'll be there. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. I presented the facts calmly and professionally, walking them through the timeline of events. Jennifer took detailed notes on her tablet. Dr. Morrison asked clarifying questions about the context of Marcus's comments and whether there had been prior incidents. I mentioned several family gatherings where similar remarks had been made, though nothing as overt as this. Hospital policy was clear about employees engaging in conduct that could be perceived as harassment or creating a hostile work environment, even outside of work hours, especially when it involved other hospital employees. The policy had been strengthened 2 years ago after a lawsuit involving off-duty conduct that affected workplace relationships. We'll need to conduct an investigation, Jennifer said, reviewing her notes. This is serious, especially given your position and his role as a vendor liaison. There are potential conflicts of interest here that we need to examine carefully. I understand, I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm simply reporting an incident that I believe violates hospital policy. Dr. Morrison nodded. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention through proper channels. We'll handle it from here. By Wednesday, Marcus had been called into a meeting with his supervisor and HR. He called me that evening, furious. What did you do? They're asking me about some incident at Mom and Dad's house. They're talking about professional conduct violations. I filed a formal complaint, I said calmly. You encouraged your son to destroy my medical degree and made disparaging comments about my profession. I documented it and reported it. Are you insane? You're going to get me fired over a stupid joke. It wasn't a joke, Marcus. You've spent years undermining my career and treating me like I'm inferior. I'm done accepting that behavior. You sanctimonious little. This is exactly why nobody likes you. You can't take a joke, you can't be part of the family without making everything about you and your precious feelings. I hung up. Thursday morning, I received an email from Dr. Morrison. The hospital board had completed its review. They were requesting my presence at a special meeting Friday afternoon to discuss next steps. Marcus's supervisor and Jennifer Hartley would also attend. Friday arrived. I put on my best suit and walked into the conference room at 3 o'clock. Marcus was already there, sitting with his supervisor, a man named Greg Phillips. Jennifer sat at the head of the table with Dr. Morrison. 2 other board members were present via video conference. Marcus glared at me as I entered. This is ridiculous. I'm being dragged through an investigation because my brother can't handle family banter. Greg shifted uncomfortably. Marcus, I'd recommend you let HR and the board handle this discussion. Dr. Morrison opened a folder. We've reviewed the incident report, the photographic evidence, and the statements from both parties. Mr. Hayes, your contract with St. Catherine's includes a professional conduct clause. The behavior described in Dr. Hayes's report constitutes a violation of that clause. Marcus leaned forward. With all due respect, what I do outside of work is my business. David is being vindictive because he's sensitive about his career choices. Dr. Hayes isn't just any employee, Jennifer said quietly, her tone deliberate. He's the deputy chief of medicine. He's part of the hospital's senior leadership team. The room went silent. I could see the exact moment the words registered. Marcus's confident posture crumbled. His face went from flushed with anger to pale with shock. Marcus swallowed. What? Deputy chief? Since when? I was promoted 3 months ago, I said calmly, keeping my hands folded on the table. The announcement was delayed at my request so I could complete my current clinical rotation without administrative distractions. You've been making derogatory comments about my career while I've been in a senior leadership position at the same institution that employs you, the same institution that approves your sales contracts and evaluates vendor relationships. Greg closed his eyes. Marcus, why didn't you tell me your brother worked here? I didn't think it mattered. He's just a resident, I thought. Marcus stopped. Deputy Chief of Medicine? Dr. Morrison continued. The board takes professional conduct very seriously, especially when it involves senior medical staff. Your comments about Dr. Hayes's credentials and profession, made in front of a minor whom you encouraged to destroy hospital-related property, demonstrate a fundamental lack of respect for the medical professionals you're supposed to be partnering with. Hospital-related property? Marcus asked weakly. The medical degree that was destroyed belongs to a member of our senior leadership team, Jennifer explained. That makes this a matter of hospital concern, particularly given that your role requires you to work directly with our medical departments. Greg spoke up. I think we need to discuss Marcus's future with the liaison program. If he can't demonstrate respect for our medical staff, including his own brother, how can we trust him to maintain professional relationships with other physicians? Marcus turned to me. David, come on. This is going too far. It was just Tyler being a kid. I'll pay for a replacement diploma. I'll apologize. You told your 12-year-old son that doctors are losers, I said quietly. You've spent 5 years treating my career as a joke. You stood there and watched him destroy something I earned through 8 years of work and you smiled about it. This isn't about the diploma, Marcus. This is about a pattern of disrespect that I'm no longer willing to tolerate. Dr. Morrison looked at the other board members on the screen. Recommendations. One of them spoke. I move that we terminate Mr. Hayes's contract with St. Catherine's effective immediately. This behavior is incompatible with our institutional values. Seconded, the other board member said. Greg nodded slowly. I'll support that recommendation. Marcus stood up abruptly. You're firing me? Over this? You're being terminated for violating your professional conduct agreement, Jennifer said. You'll receive 2 weeks severance as outlined in your contract. Your building access will be revoked as of 5 o'clock today. Marcus looked at me desperately. David, please. I've got a mortgage. Tyler's in private school. You can't do this to me. I didn't do this to you, I said. You did this to yourself. I simply reported what happened. The vote is unanimous, Dr. Morrison announced. Mr. Hayes, your employment with St. Catherine's Medical Center is terminated. You'll need to return all hospital property and complete your exit paperwork with HR. Marcus grabbed his briefcase and stormed toward the door. He stopped and turned back to me. You're really going to destroy my career over a childhood rivalry? This isn't a rivalry, I said calmly. This is a consequence. You taught your son that disrespecting people has no price. Now he gets to learn a different lesson. After Marcus left, Greg apologized profusely. If I'd known about the family connection and his attitude toward medical staff, I never would have brought him into the liaison program. It's not your fault, I told him. He's very good at presenting a professional image when it serves him. Dr. Morrison walked me out of the conference room. I know this wasn't easy, Dr. Hayes. But the board stands behind you completely. Professional respect is foundational to everything we do here. Thank you. I just want to focus on my work. That evening my mother called. She'd heard from Marcus about what happened. David, honey, I know your brother was wrong, but did you have to get him fired? The whole family is upset. Mom, he encouraged his son to vandalize my medical degree and then mocked my entire career while I stood there. What did you expect me to do? I expected you to be the bigger person. You know how Marcus is. He's always been competitive. Being competitive doesn't excuse being cruel. And it definitely doesn't excuse teaching Tyler that behavior. My father got on the line. Your brother has a family to support. You make good money now, apparently. You'll be fine. Marcus needs that job. He should have thought about that before treating me like garbage for 5 years. I hung up before the conversation could continue. Monday morning I walked into the hospital at 6:30. My new office had been ready for 2 weeks, but I'd been avoiding the move. Today seemed like the right time. The nameplate on the door read, Dr. David Hayes, Deputy Chief of Medicine. My assistant, Margaret, had already arranged my books on the shelves and set up my computer. The ruined diploma was gone, but I'd already ordered a replacement. This one would hang in my office where it belonged. At 9 o'clock, I had my first departmental leadership meeting in my official capacity. At noon, I reviewed surgical protocols with the chief of surgery. At 3, I met with a family whose mother was in intensive care. My phone buzzed with texts from Marcus throughout the day. Angry messages, pleading messages, messages calling me vindictive and cruel. I blocked his number. By the end of the week, the hospital had issued a formal announcement about my promotion. Congratulations poured in from colleagues, former professors, and friends from medical school. Some people were surprised I'd kept it quiet for so long. The truth was simple. I'd wanted to prove myself in the role before dealing with the politics of the title. I wanted to make sure I earned respect through my work, not through my position. Marcus had assumed I was still struggling, still junior, still less successful than him. He'd built his ego on that assumption. He was wrong. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from Tyler. It was handwritten, clearly written under duress, apologizing for ruining my diploma. There was a postscript in different handwriting, Marcus's writing. I hope you're happy. We had to pull Tyler from private school. I didn't respond. I framed the letter and hung it next to my new diploma, not as a trophy but as a reminder. Some people spend their lives tearing others down to feel bigger. Some people enable that behavior because it's easier than confronting it. And some people, like me, eventually decide that being the bigger person doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It means holding people accountable for their choices. Marcus taught Tyler that actions have no consequences. I taught him something different. Whether Tyler learns that lesson or not isn't my responsibility anymore. I have patients to care for, a department to help lead, and a career I'm proud of. The paint-stained diploma is gone. But the work it represented? That's still here. That's still mine. And nobody can take that away. The smell of burning paper filled my parents' living room. My daughter Sarah's face went pale as she stared at the fireplace, where orange flames consumed the contract she'd been showing the family moments ago. Oops, my 12-year-old niece Emma said, smirking. Daddy says you don't deserve success anyway. People like you should stay in their place. I kept my expression neutral. Emma, what did you just burn? That stupid paper you were bragging about. Your little business deal or whatever. My brother Marcus emerged from the kitchen, laughing instead of reprimanding his daughter. It was just paperwork. Print another copy. Emma's just being a kid. That was the original contract, Sarah whispered. The signed original for the Henderson account. $1.2 million. My mother looked up from her knitting. You shouldn't have been waving it around. Marcus is right, just print another one. It had original signatures, I said quietly. Notarized. Marcus waved his hand dismissively. So get them to sign again. What's the big deal? You're always so dramatic about your little consulting business. It's not like you're running a real company. My father nodded. You've gotten awfully high and mighty about this side hustle. Making copies isn't difficult. I looked at Sarah, whose eyes filled with tears. She'd worked 3 months on the Henderson proposal. This was her first major client acquisition since joining my firm. Emma, I said calmly, do you understand what you destroyed? He shrugged. Daddy says you act like you're better than everyone. He says someone needs to bring you back to reality. Marcus put his arm around his daughter. Don't interrogate my kid. You brought work documents to a family dinner. That's on you. My sister-in-law Jennifer walked in. What's the commotion? Emma burned Lisa's work papers, my mother explained. Now Lisa is making a scene. Jennifer shrugged. Kids will be kids. Marcus laughed. $1 million? Please. If you had $1 million deals, you wouldn't be driving that 10-year-old Honda. You'd be in a Mercedes. The Honda runs fine, I said. Because you can't afford anything better, Jennifer added. You've always exaggerated your accomplishments. Remember when you said you were consulting for that tech startup? You were just doing their bookkeeping. I was their financial consultant, I corrected. They went public 2 years later. Sure they did, Marcus said. Just like this $1 million contract that conveniently got burned before anyone could verify it was real. My father set down his newspaper. Your brother has a point. You've always been a dreamer. There's nothing wrong with running a small business, but pretending it's more than it is makes you look foolish. I stood up. I need to make some phone calls. Sarah, let's go. Running away? Marcus called. Can't handle reality? Emma giggled. Bye, Aunt Lisa. Sorry about your fake contract. In the car, Sarah broke down. Mom, that was months of work. The original contract is gone. Mr. Henderson's lawyers won't go through that process again. I pulled out my phone. Give me a moment, sweetheart. The first call was to my banker, David Morrison. Lisa, good evening. David, freeze all credit lines for Marcus Thompson and Jennifer Thompson. Effective immediately. May I ask the reason? Personal matter. Family conflict. Understood. Anything else? Pull the report on their mortgage. I want to review the terms. I'll send it within the hour. The second call was to Richard Hayes, chairman at Continental Savings and Loan. Lisa, what's the emergency? Richard, the Thompson mortgage account from the First National acquisition. I want a full review and paperwork to call the loan. That's significant. What prompted this? Family matter. They need to understand their financial situation. I'll have legal prepare the documents by morning. Sarah stared at me. Mom, what did you just do? Made sure your hard work doesn't go unrecognized. We drove home in silence. Sarah kept glancing at me, questions clearly forming in her mind, but she didn't ask them. Smart girl. She knew I'd explain when the time was right. The next morning at 6, Marcus called. What did you do? Jennifer's cards are frozen. All of them. She's at the grocery store and her card was declined. Good morning, Marcus. Fix this. No. Jennifer is humiliated. I'm sure she'll figure something out. This is because Emma burned your paper? You're insane. I didn't freeze anything. The bank made its decision based on account activity. You're going to regret this. I'm calling Dad. Our lawyer. Good luck with your calls. 20 minutes later, my mother called. Lisa, Marcus says you froze their credit. That can't be true. The bank made a business decision, Mom. This is out of proportion. She's a child. Emma destroyed a legally binding contract worth over $1 million. That's serious financial damage. You're punishing Marcus and Jennifer for something a child did. I'm ensuring financial matters are properly reviewed. My mother's voice turned cold. You've always been vindictive. An hour later, my father called. You need to fix Marcus's credit. This is family. We don't attack each other financially. We don't destroy million-dollar contracts either, Dad. That was an accident. Emma quoted Marcus verbatim. He told her I don't deserve success. That's deliberate. Even so, freezing their credit is extreme. Almost as extreme as teaching your child to sabotage business deals. Around noon, Marcus called again. His voice shook. Lisa, we got a letter from Continental Savings and Loan. They're calling our mortgage. We're current on payments. Are you? Yes. We've never missed a payment. They're exercising an acceleration clause. What does that mean? Full balance paid within 30 days. That's impossible. $240,000. We don't have that cash. Did you read the rest? Something about the loan being from First National and new owners having the right to restructure. Lisa, you know people in banking. Can you help? I could, but I'm not sure why I would. Silence. This is about last night. Yes. Lisa, I'm sorry. Emma shouldn't have burned your contract. I shouldn't have laughed. But this is our house. You can't take that because of one incident. One incident? Marcus, your daughter destroyed $1 million contract while quoting your instructions. You laughed. Everyone dismissed it. My daughter's months of work were treated like garbage. It was just paper. And this is just business. Surely you can get another mortgage, right? His voice cracked. We can't. Our credit is frozen. We can't apply anywhere. And we don't have the income to qualify anyway. Jennifer works part-time. My salary won't cover it. That sounds difficult. Please. Whatever you did, undo it. We'll replace your contract. Pay for a lawyer to recreate it. You can't replace it. The client moved on this morning. They don't want to recreate a burned contract. That opportunity is gone. We'll pay you the $1 million. With what money? You can't even cover your mortgage. I have a family. Emma needs stability. You can't do this. I didn't do anything. Continental made a business decision about their portfolio. These things happen in finance. This is revenge. No, this is consequences. My mother called that afternoon. Your brother is beside himself. Emma's crying. Jennifer is having panic attacks. Stop this. Stop what? Their mortgage and credit. Marcus says you're behind it. I don't work for Continental or any credit card companies. How could I be behind their decisions? Somehow you made this happen. Did I? Or did Marcus create instability that made financial institutions review his accounts? What does that mean? Actions have consequences. Emma destroyed $1 million contract. If someone teaches their child to sabotage business deals, what else might they do? Banks don't like instability. That evening, Sarah asked, "Are you really going to take their house?" "I haven't decided." Uncle Marcus sounded desperate. "Emma's scared they'll be homeless." Emma should have thought about consequences before burning your contract. She's 12. And old enough to understand that destroying important documents is wrong. More importantly, Marcus is old enough to know better. What's going to happen? Tomorrow they'll receive options. Pay the full balance in 30 days or negotiate new terms. What kind of terms? That depends on their willingness to acknowledge what happened and the severity of Emma's actions and Marcus's encouragement. You want accountability. Exactly. The next morning, my entire family was waiting in my parents' driveway when I arrived. Marcus, Jennifer, Emma, my parents, even my younger sister who'd driven in from 2 hours away. The tension was thick enough to cut. Marcus held up the letter I'd had delivered. His hand trembled slightly. "It says here the mortgage is held by L.M. Thompson Holdings. That's you, isn't it?" For Lisa Marie." "Yes. You own our mortgage." The realization seemed to physically hit him. I own the company that owns your mortgage along with several hundred other residential mortgages that were part of the first national portfolio acquisition. Jennifer's face went pale. How long have you owned it? Since the acquisition 18 months ago. You've owned our mortgage for over a year and never told us? Her voice rose with each word. Why would I? It's a business investment. The servicing company handles all the payments and communication. I rarely look at individual accounts unless there's a reason to. Until now, Marcus said bitterly. Until you made it personal, I corrected. When you taught your daughter to destroy my business contracts and mocked my work in front of the entire family, you made it very personal indeed. My father stepped forward, trying to take control. Lisa, this has gone far enough. Family doesn't do this to family. We settle our differences. We don't use financial weapons against each other. You're right, Dad. Family shouldn't do this. Family shouldn't destroy each other's work out of jealousy. Family shouldn't mock each other's achievements to make themselves feel bigger. Family shouldn't teach their children to sabotage each other's success because they can't handle someone else doing well. But that's exactly what happened 2 nights ago in your living room, and nobody except Sarah and I seem to care about any of it. Emma was crying now, her earlier smugness completely gone. I'm sorry, Aunt Lisa. I didn't know it was real. I didn't know it mattered so much. Daddy said you were just showing off. He said you always pretend to be more important than you are, that you make up stories about your business. And what do you think now, Emma? I kept my voice gentle but firm. I think Daddy was wrong. I think I was wrong. I'm really sorry. The tears were genuine this time. Marcus put his hand on his daughter's shoulder, his own eyes wet. Don't put this all on Emma. I was wrong. I admit it completely. I was jealous, Lisa. You've always been the successful one, and I've always felt like I was living in your shadow. When Emma burned that contract, there was this ugly part of me that was glad. I wanted to see you knocked down a bit, brought back to earth. That was petty and wrong and cruel. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you sorry for what happened, or sorry that there are consequences? I needed to know the difference. Both. I'm genuinely sorry for all of it. For teaching Emma the wrong values. For mocking your success. For not recognizing how hard you and Sarah work. Please, Lisa. We'll do whatever you want. We'll apologize publicly. We'll pay for Sarah's lost commission on the Henderson account. We'll explain to Emma in detail exactly why what she did was wrong and what it cost. Just please don't take our house. Please don't make my daughter homeless because of my mistakes. I looked at Sarah. She gave me a small nod of approval. The letter outlines your options in detail, I said. You can pay the full balance within 30 days if you can secure the funds. Or you can accept modified terms. The modified terms include a formal written apology to Sarah for the destroyed contract, a realistic payment plan for her lost commission on the Henderson account, and mandatory financial counseling sessions for Emma about the real-world consequences of property destruction and business sabotage. Jennifer wiped her eyes, mascara running down her cheeks. We accept. Whatever the terms are, whatever you need, we accept. We'll do all of it. There's one more condition, I said. Marcus, you're going to call the Henderson Group yourself. You're going to explain that your daughter destroyed their contract in a moment of poor judgment, and you're going to ask them to reconsider working with Sarah. You're going to personally vouch for her professionalism, her competence, and her expertise. You're going to use whatever business connections you have to make this happen. They already hired someone else, Marcus said weakly. Then you'll convince them to hire Sarah too, for a different project, for additional consulting work. Use whatever leverage you have in your industry. Make it happen, Marcus. Prove that you actually respect what we do. What if I can't? His voice was barely a whisper. Then the original terms stand. Full payment in 30 days, or foreclosure proceedings begin on day 31. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding the weight of what I was asking. I'll make it happen. I swear I will. I'll call every contact I have. I'll make this right. My mother looked absolutely shocked. You're really going to make them do all this? This seems excessive, Lisa. Yes, I'm really going to make them do all this. Because Emma needs to learn that actions have real consequences. Marcus needs to learn that tearing people down doesn't make him bigger or more successful. And all of you need to understand once and for all that my success isn't pretend. It's real. Sarah's success is real. Our work matters. And neither of us will ever again tolerate being treated like our accomplishments don't matter or can be dismissed as fantasy. 3 weeks later, Marcus called. I got Sarah a meeting with Henderson. They're considering her for a different project. A $600,000 contract. I told them she's the best in the business. Thank you, Marcus. I mean it, Lisa. She's good. I was wrong to dismiss that. I was wrong about a lot of things. I know. Are we okay? As family. We're getting there. Keep working on it. Emma sent Sarah a handwritten letter apologizing and explaining what she'd learned in her financial counseling sessions. Sarah framed it and hung it in her office. My parents still don't fully understand what happened, but they're more careful now about dismissing my work. My mother actually asked about my business last week. Real questions, not dismissive ones. As for the mortgage, I modified the terms as promised. Marcus and Jennifer make their payments on time now. They understand what's at stake. And every time Emma visits, she asks Sarah about her latest contracts. Real interest, not mockery. Sometimes people need to lose everything to understand what really matters. Sometimes family needs consequences to learn respect. The community center's party room buzzed with laughter and the sticky sweet smell of vanilla frosting. My daughter Emma sat beside me, her feeding tube carefully secured under her purple dress. She was 5 years old, and today was her cousin Tyler's 7th birthday party. Auntie Sarah, watch me, Tyler shouted, performing an elaborate dance move that ended with him nearly knocking over the punch bowl. My sister Jennifer caught it just in time, laughing. Emma clapped her small hands together, her eyes bright with joy. She loved family gatherings, loved being around her cousins. The feeding tube was something she'd had since she was 2, a necessary medical device that kept her nourished when her digestive condition made eating impossible. Her doctors at Children's Hospital had explained it countless times to our family. All right, everyone, cake time. Jennifer called out, wheeling in a massive superhero-themed cake. Emma's face lit up. She couldn't eat the cake, of course, but she loved the ceremony of it all. The candles, the singing, the celebration. My mother appeared beside Jennifer, carrying the cake knife with an air of authority she always assumed at family events. She'd barely acknowledged us when we arrived, offering Emma a stiff pat on the head before turning her attention to Tyler. Everyone gather round. Mom commanded. The children rushed forward, including Emma. She positioned herself carefully at the edge of the group, mindful of her tube but eager to participate in the singing. Happy birthday to you, we all began. Tyler's face glowed in the candlelight. He made his wish and blew out all 7 candles in one breath. The room erupted in applause. Cake time. Jennifer started cutting generous slices. My mother took over the distribution as she always did. She handed plates to Tyler first, then to my brother David's kids, then to Jennifer's other children. Emma stood patiently, her hands clasped in front of her. She knew she couldn't eat it, but we always took a slice home and I'd describe it to her in elaborate detail. It was our tradition. Mom moved through the crowd, handing out plates with theatrical flourish. She gave one to my father, to David, to Jennifer's husband, Mark. Emma waited. Mom handed slices to the adults, to distant cousins, even to Jennifer's neighbor who'd stopped by. Grandma, Emma said softly, her voice barely audible over the chatter. My mother's eyes landed on her. Something cold flickered across her face. Look who's pretending to be sick again. The words cut through the noise like a knife. The room didn't exactly go silent, but conversations faltered. Heads turned. Emma's face crumpled in confusion. I'm not pretending, Grandma. The doctor said. Oh, the doctor said, Mom mimicked in a high-pitched voice. Always with the drama. Always needing to be the center of attention. My stomach turned to ice. I started to stand, but Emma touched my arm. It's okay, Mama, she whispered. It wasn't okay. Jennifer laughed nervously. Mom, come on. Let's just have a nice party. I am having a nice party, Mom said. A party for children who actually appreciate food, not for attention seekers who reject everything offered to them. She held up the cake slice she'd just cut, the one I assumed was for Emma, and made a show of putting it back on the serving platter. No cake for attention seekers, she announced, her smirk directed squarely at my daughter. David's wife, Laura, shifted uncomfortably. That seems a bit harsh, don't you think? Harsh. Mom whirled on her. You know what's harsh? Having a granddaughter who refuses to eat normal food. who makes every meal about her special needs, who turns every family gathering into a medical emergency. Emma's lower lip trembled. She was 5 years old, sitting at her cousin's birthday party, being publicly humiliated by her grandmother. She has a diagnosed medical condition, I said quietly, fighting to keep my voice steady. The feeding tube isn't a choice. Everything is a choice, Sarah. Mom turned to the room, addressing everyone like she was giving a speech. In my day, children ate what they were given. They didn't have tubes and special formulas and constant doctor appointments. They just ate. Mom, Jennifer tried again, maybe we should. Should what? Cuddle her? Pretend that this is normal. She gestured at Emma's feeding tube. It's not normal. It's attention-seeking behavior and I won't reward it. The other children had stopped eating their cake. They stared at Emma, at me, uncertain. Tyler, sweet 7-year-old Tyler, pushed his plate toward Emma. She can have mine, Grandma. No. Mom's hand shot out, pulling the plate back. She will not. This is my grandson's birthday and we're not going to let her ruin it with her dramatics. That was the moment. The precise second when something inside me shifted and settled into cold, absolute clarity. I stood slowly, gathering Emma's small jacket and her special bag with her feeding supplies. What are you doing? Mom demanded. Leaving. Kept my voice level, calm. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me angry. Oh, of course. Run away. That's what you always do when someone tells you the truth. I helped Emma into her jacket. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Sarah, maybe just stay, Jennifer said weakly. For Tyler's sake. For Tyler's sake? I looked at my sister. You just watched your mother tell your niece she's faking a serious medical condition. You watched her deny a 5-year-old child basic kindness at a family party. And you want me to stay for the cake. Jennifer looked away. David said nothing. He never did. My father, sitting in the corner with his second slice of cake, didn't even look up. Fine. Leave. Mom crossed her arms. But don't come crawling back when you realize how good you have it. This family has been more than generous with you. I wanted to laugh. Generous. The word echoed in my head as I picked up Emma and headed for the door. In the parking lot, I buckled Emma into her car seat. She hiccuped, trying to stop crying. Mama, why doesn't Grandma like me? Oh, sweetheart. I smoothed her hair. This isn't about you. This is about Grandma not understanding something, and that's her problem, not yours. But she said I'm pretending. You're not pretending. You have a medical condition and your feeding tube helps you stay healthy and strong. Grandma is wrong. We drove home in silence. Emma fell asleep halfway there, exhausted from crying. That night, after I'd settled her in bed and sat in the dark living room, I pulled out my phone. First call. Daniel Martinez, the manager of the Riverside Community Center. Daniel, it's Sarah Peterson. I need to cancel a standing rental reservation. Oh. He sounded surprised. Which one? The third Saturday of every month. The party room. It's been billed to my account for the past 3 years. Silence. Then, Sarah, that's the booking that... Wait, you're the one paying for those? I thought it was registered to Margaret Peterson. It is registered to her. But check your billing records. The card on file is mine. I could hear him typing. Oh my God. You're right. Every month for 36 months. That's $4,320 total. Yes. Does Margaret know? No. And I'd like the reservation canceled effective immediately. If she calls to book the room again, she'll need to provide her own payment method. Understood. Sarah, I'm sorry about whatever happened. Thank you, Daniel. Second call. Patricia Chin at First National Bank. Patricia, it's Sarah Peterson. I need to stop an automatic payment. Of course. Which one? The mortgage payment for 47 Maple Street. It's been coming from my account for the past 5 years. Another silence. Sarah, that's your mother's property. I'm aware. And I've been making the payments. All of them. I'd like that stopped immediately. Are you sure? This will mean. I'm very sure. Cancel the automatic payment. If Margaret Peterson wants to continue making mortgage payments, she'll need to set up her own arrangement with the bank. This will be processed by tomorrow morning. Perfect. I hung up and sat in the dark, feeling nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just a cold, clear certainty that I'd made the right choice. The call started at 8:30 the next morning. First, Jennifer. Sarah, what did you do? Mom just got a call from the community center saying her reservation is canceled and she needs to pay $300 if she wants to book it again. I canceled my payment authorization. Your payment? What are you talking about? I've been paying for that party room for 3 years, Jennifer. Every month. Every family birthday, every celebration. I was happy to do it when I thought I was contributing to family unity. I'm not paying for Emma to be humiliated anymore. Sarah, that's crazy. Mom would never. Mom didn't know I was paying. She thought the community center just gave her a good rate. But it was me. The whole time. Jennifer went quiet. Next call, David. You need to fix this. Mom's freaking out. Fix what? Whatever you did. She's calling everyone, screaming about the community center and the bank and, wait, what did you do with the bank? I stopped paying her mortgage. You what? I've been making her mortgage payments for 5 years, David. $2,300 a month. I'm done. That's insane. Why would you even do that? Because 5 years ago she was going to lose the house. She came to me crying, said she couldn't afford the payments after Dad's medical bills. I offered to help temporarily. It never became temporary. It became permanent. And she never knew. She's going to lose the house. Then she'll need to figure out how to make the payments herself. Or maybe you could help her. Or Jennifer. I'm sure between the three of you, you can manage $2,300 a month. He hung up. Mom called at noon. I let it go to voicemail. How dare you? How dare you sabotage this family? You think you're so special with your sick child and your martyr routine. Well, guess what? We don't need you. We've never needed you. And we certainly don't need your money. I deleted the message. The second voicemail came an hour later. Her voice was different. Smaller. Sarah. Please call me back. We need to talk about this situation. I'm sure we can work something out. Third voicemail, evening. Please. I didn't know you were paying for those things. If I'd known, I would have been more grateful. Just call me back. I didn't call back. Jennifer showed up at my door 2 days later. She's sorry, Jennifer said without preamble. Is she? The bank told her she has 30 days to start making payments or they'll begin foreclosure proceedings. She's panicking. She has 30 days to figure it out. That's more time than I had to figure out how to pay her bills while also covering Emma's medical expenses. Your medical expenses? Sarah, Mom didn't know. Didn't know what? That Emma's care costs money? That I work 2 jobs to cover what insurance doesn't? That I've been supporting Mom financially for 5 years while she told everyone what a burden my daughter is. Jennifer looked at the floor. What do you want? An apology. I want Emma to be treated with basic human decency. I want Mom to acknowledge that she was cruel to a 5-year-old child. I want her to understand that medical conditions aren't character flaws. She's old. She's from a different generation. She's 68, not 90. And being old doesn't give her the right to abuse my daughter. Jennifer left without another word. The mortgage payment bounced. The bank called my mother. She called me 17 times in one day. I blocked her number. She showed up at my work. Security escorted her out. Finally, 3 weeks after the birthday party, she showed up at my house when she knew I'd be home. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. I'm sorry, she said. I waited. I was wrong. About Emma. About what I said. You told a 5-year-old she was faking a serious medical condition. You denied her cake in front of the whole family to punish her for being sick. I know. Do you actually understand what you did? Mom's eyes filled with tears. Real ones, I thought. I was jealous. Jealous. Of the attention. Everyone always asking about Emma, talking about her treatments, her progress. I felt invisible. Like I didn't matter anymore. She wiped her eyes. It's not an excuse. It's just the truth. I considered her words. You could have talked to me. Instead, you hurt my daughter. I know. I'm sorry. To both of you. I'll need to hear you say that to Emma. I will. I'll apologize to her properly. And you'll learn about her condition. She'll learn. Talk to her doctors. Understand what she's going through. Yes. Whatever it takes. The mortgage. She flinched. I found a part-time job. And David's helping. I can cover it now. Good. Will you come back? To family things. I looked at her for a long moment. Maybe. Eventually. When Emma feels safe around you again. When I trust you won't hurt her. That's fair. She left. I closed the door and leaned against it. Emma appeared from her room where she'd been playing. Was that Grandma? Yes. Is she sorry? She says she is. Emma considered this with the serious wisdom of a 5-year-old who'd already learned that adults could be cruel. But I still don't want to go to any more birthday parties for a while. That's completely okay, sweetheart. She hugged my legs, then went back to her toys. I stood there thinking about choices and consequences, about the power of walking away, about the strange mathematics of family love and money and boundaries. The mortgage payments stayed cancelled. The community center bookings stayed cancelled. Mom did apologize to Emma eventually. She did talk to the doctors. He did try. Whether it was enough remained to be seen. But Emma was safe. And I'd learned something valuable. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop giving what's being taken for granted. Sometimes you just make 2 calls and wait. My daughter Emma burst through the front door at 4:47 p.m., her small hands clutching a plastic toy that had already broken in half. The pink unicorn's head dangled from a thin piece of cheap material, and tears streamed down her 7-year-old face. "Mommy," she sobbed, running into my arms. "Uncle David said I don't deserve nice things." I held her close, feeling her little body shake. "What happened, sweetheart?" "At Cousin Melissa's birthday party," Emma hiccuped. "Uncle David gave Melissa this huge dollhouse with real lights and everything. I said it was pretty and he laughed. He said poor kids like me should be happy with dollar store toys. Then he gave me this." She held up the broken unicorn. "It broke when I opened it. My brother David. Of course. He said you're too proud to ask family for help," Emma continued, wiping her nose. "That we live in a tiny apartment because you make bad choices." Melissa laughed too. She said her daddy is successful and yours is just what, baby? Nobody important. Fresh tears fell. "Are we really poor, Mommy? Is that why I can't have nice things?" I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. "Emma, go wash your face and pick out a movie. We'll talk about this later, okay?" She nodded and trudged to the bathroom. I heard the water running as I pulled out my phone and opened the voice memo app. I'd started recording the moment Emma walked in. Every word was captured. I sat at my kitchen table and made 2 calls. The first was to James Morrison, my corporate attorney. "James, it's me. I need you to prepare documentation for tomorrow morning. Full ownership disclosure. Yes, the automotive group. All 43 locations. Oh, I'm done waiting. Send everything to David's location by 9 a.m. The second call was to Patricia Hendricks, my chief operating officer. "Patricia, I need you at the flagship dealership tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Bring the full board. It's time David learned who actually signs his paychecks." I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I reviewed the acquisition documents from 6 years ago, when I'd purchased the struggling automotive group that included David's precious luxury car dealership. He'd been the general manager then, barely keeping the place afloat with his expensive tastes and poor business decisions. I'd bought the entire chain through my investment firm, restructured everything and kept David in his position. He thought he'd been promoted to owner-operator through some corporate reshuffling. He had no idea his baby sister, the one who wasted her education on charity work, owned every square foot of his showroom. The next morning I dropped Emma at school early and drove to the dealership. Patricia was already there, standing in the parking lot with 5 board members. James arrived moments later, carrying a leather folder thick with documents. "Everything's ready," James said quietly. "I've also prepared the termination paperwork if you decide to go that route." "Let's see how the morning goes," I replied. We walked into the gleaming showroom at exactly 8:43 a.m. David was in his glass office, feet up on his desk, laughing on the phone. Through the window I could see the expensive suit, the designer watch, the arrogant tilt of his head. He'd always been like this. Growing up, David was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. When I got into Harvard, my parents barely noticed. When David barely graduated community college, they threw him a party. When I started my investment firm at 25, my father called it cute. When David got his first sales job, my father bought him a BMW. The dealership receptionist, a young woman named Ashley, looked up nervously. Can I help you? We're here to see David, Patricia said smoothly. He's expecting us. That was a lie, but Ashley didn't know that. She pressed the intercom. Mr. Thompson, there are some people here to see you. David glanced through the glass and I saw the exact moment he recognized me. His expression shifted from confusion to irritation. He ended his call and stepped out of his office. Sarah? What are you doing here? He looked at the board members. Who are these people? David Thompson? James stepped forward. I'm James Morrison, legal counsel for Westfield Investment Group. These are members of the board of directors. We need to speak with you immediately. David's face flushed. I don't have time for whatever sales pitch you're running. I own this dealership and I don't take meetings with random investment groups. You don't own this dealership, Patricia said calmly. You never have. What the hell are you talking about? David's voice rose. Several salespeople turned to look. I've owned this place for 6 years. I built this business from nothing. James opened his folder. Mr. Thompson, in 2019, Thompson Luxury Motors and 42 other automotive dealerships were acquired by Westfield Investment Group in a leveraged buyout totaling $847 million. You were retained as general manager, not owner. Your compensation package included a base salary plus performance bonuses, which you've been receiving regularly. David's face went white. That's insane. I would know if I didn't own my own business. You signed all the paperwork, Patricia said. He pulled out a document. This is your employment agreement. Page 7, Section 3, clearly states your role as general manager reporting to the ownership group. I watched David's hands shake as he took the paper. His eyes scanned the page and I saw the exact moment reality hit him. This can't be right, he whispered. Who owns Westfield Investment Group? I do, I said quietly. The showroom went completely silent. Even the mechanics in the back bay had stopped working. David stared at me. That's impossible. You work at some nonprofit. You live in a tiny apartment. You drive a 10-year-old Honda. I live in a rent-controlled apartment in the city because I prefer urban living, I said. I drive a reliable car because I don't need to compensate for anything. And I run Westfield Investment Group, which owns 43 dealerships across 6 states, generating approximately $2.3 billion in annual revenue. One of the salespeople gasped. Ashley's mouth fell open. You're lying, David said, but his voice cracked. Why wouldn't you tell me? Why would I? Kept my tone level. So you could ask for handouts? So you could feel entitled to my success the way you felt entitled to everything else in your life. James pulled out another document. Mr. Thompson, we're also here to address a serious workplace conduct issue. Yesterday at a family gathering, you made disparaging comments to a 7-year-old child about her socioeconomic status and gave her a deliberately inferior gift to humiliate her. That was my niece, David sputtered. That was family business, not work. You used your position at this dealership as evidence of your superiority, Patricia said. You told that child her mother made bad choices while implying your success came from merit. That's creating a hostile environment for the actual owner of this company, and it reflects poorly on our corporate values. David looked around wildly. The entire staff was watching now. His carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. I want you to understand something, I said, stepping closer. Emma came home yesterday clutching a broken toy, crying because her uncle told her she didn't deserve nice things. She asked me if we were poor. She asked me if I made bad choices. And you know what the worst part was? David didn't answer. She apologized for not being good enough. My 7-year-old daughter apologized for disappointing her family because you made her feel worthless. Sarah, I didn't mean. You gave Melissa a $300 dollhouse. I saw the receipt when you pulled out that cheap toy. You deliberately humiliated my daughter to make yourself feel superior. James cleared his throat. Mr. Thompson, the board has reviewed your performance over the past 6 years. While sales numbers have been adequate, your management style has resulted in a 42% turnover rate, significantly higher than our other locations. We've also discovered several expense account irregularities. David's face went from white to red. What irregularities? Patricia pulled out a tablet. In the past year alone, you've expensed over $180,000 in personal purchases. Designer clothes, jewelry for your wife, your daughter's private school tuition, club memberships. All marked as business development expenses. That's standard, David protested. I need to look successful to sell to wealthy clients. Other general managers achieve higher sales without fraudulent expense claims, James said. We're prepared to pursue legal action for the misappropriated funds. I watched my brother's world collapse. All the bravado, all the superiority drained away as he realized he'd built his entire identity on a foundation he never owned. Please, David said finally. Sarah, please. I'm sorry about Emma. I'll apologize. I'll buy her something nice. Just don't do this. Buy her something nice with what money? I asked. Your salary? The one I've been paying you for 6 years. Ashley's phone rang at the reception desk, but she ignored it, too transfixed by the scene unfolding. I'll fix this, David said desperately. I'll change. I'll be better. You had 7 years to be better, I said. 7 years to be a decent uncle. Instead you made my daughter cry because it made you feel powerful. James handed David a final document. This is your termination notice, effective immediately. You have until the end of business today to clear out your personal belongings. Security will escort you from the premises. You can't do this, David said weakly. What about my family? What about my reputation? You should have thought about that before you made a child cry over a toy, Patricia said coldly. We've already identified your replacement. She starts Monday. David looked at me one last time. Mom and Dad will never forgive you for this. Mom and Dad don't own 43 car dealerships, I said. And they didn't make Emma cry. You did. 2 security guards appeared from the back office. James had called them before we arrived. They stood on either side of David, professional and immovable. Mr. Thompson, please come with us, one of them said. I watched my brother walk through the showroom he thought he owned, past the salespeople who'd treated him like a king, past the expensive cars he'd sold to feel important. The glass doors closed behind him and he was gone. Patricia turned to the staff. Everyone, please gather for a brief announcement. The 23 employees clustered nervously in the showroom. They looked terrified, probably wondering if they were all getting fired. I'm Patricia Hendricks, Chief Operating Officer of Westfield Investment Group, she said clearly. This is your owner, Sarah Thompson. Some of you may have thought David Thompson owned this dealership. He did not. He was the general manager, and as of today he no longer works here. Your jobs are secure. Your pay and benefits remain unchanged. We'll have a new general manager starting Monday who will meet with each of you individually. Any questions? An older salesman in the back raised his hand. Ma'am, is it true you own all 43 locations? Yes, I said. And you're David's sister? The one he always said worked at a charity. I run a charitable foundation as well, I acknowledged. The Westfield Foundation. We funded the new children's hospital downtown. We also operate the scholarship program that sent 2,000 underprivileged students to college. The same salesman who'd asked about my ownership spoke up again. David told us you were wasting your life on handouts. He said you couldn't hold a real job. David said a lot of things that weren't true, I replied. I'm sure you'll all have time to process this. For now, please return to work. Your commission structures remain the same, and you'll receive full credit for any sales in progress. The staff dispersed slowly, whispers filling the showroom. Ashley approached hesitantly. Miss Thompson? I just want to say, David was really hard to work for. He made a lot of us feel small. I'm glad you're here. I smiled at her. Thank you, Ashley. That means a lot. James, Patricia, and I walked outside. In the parking lot, I could see David sitting in his Mercedes, his head in his hands. The car he'd leased through the dealership's corporate account. The car that technically belonged to me. What do you want to do about the vehicle? James asked, following my gaze. Let him keep it through the month, I said. Give him time to make other arrangements. You're being generous, Patricia noted. I'm being practical. I don't want Emma to hear that I left her uncle stranded. When she's older, she can know the full story. For now, she just needs to know that actions have consequences. I drove back to my apartment, the same rent-controlled place I'd lived in for 8 years. It was small, but it was in a great school district, and Emma loved the park across the street. I didn't need a mansion to prove my worth. That evening, Emma and I sat together on the couch. I'd bought her a real unicorn toy, a high-quality one that cost $40 instead of $2. But more importantly, I'd spent the afternoon researching child therapists who specialized in family dynamics. "Mommy, did something happen today?" Emma asked. "You seem different." "I had a hard conversation with Uncle David," I said carefully. "Sometimes adults need to have difficult talks when someone's behavior isn't kind. Because of what he said to me." "Yes, sweetheart. What he said wasn't okay. You deserve to be treated with respect, and so do I. Nobody gets to make you feel bad about yourself." Emma hugged her new unicorn. "I like this one better anyway." "I know you do, baby." My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "David called. He's very upset." "What did you do?" I didn't respond. She'd find out soon enough. They all would. Tomorrow I had a foundation board meeting. Next week, quarterly earnings reports. The month after that, we were breaking ground on a new dealership in Portland. But tonight I was just a mom sitting with her daughter watching a movie about talking animals and eating popcorn. Emma fell asleep against my shoulder around 8:30. I carried her to bed, tucked her in and kissed her forehead. "You deserve everything good in this world," I whispered. "And nobody will ever make you doubt that again." In the morning I'd deal with the fallout. My parents would call, demanding explanations. David would probably hire a lawyer. The automotive industry press would have questions about the management change. But Emma would wake up knowing her mother had protected her. That was worth more than 43 dealerships, more than $2.3 billion in revenue, more than any amount of money could measure. I'd built an empire in silence, not for recognition but for security. For Emma's future. For the freedom to live life on my own terms without needing anyone's approval. David had spent years building an image of success on borrowed authority. I'd spent years building actual success while letting everyone underestimate me. In the end, only one of those strategies was sustainable. And only one of us got to go home to a daughter who knew without question that she deserved the world. Granite samples covered my mother's dining table. My sister, Jennifer, debated between coastal gray and Arctic white for her kitchen renovation, her engagement ring catching the light. "Arctic white photographs better for Instagram," Jennifer said. My mother nodded, already scrolling through Pinterest on her tablet. I sat across from them with my 17-year-old daughter Maya, watching the performance with growing unease. Maya's college brochures lay untouched near the edge of the table. "Mom," I said carefully, "Maya got her Northwestern acceptance yesterday. We need to discuss the college fund." My mother didn't look up. "That's wonderful. We'll talk about it later." "The deposit is due in 2 weeks," Maya said quietly. Jennifer glanced at us with irritation. "Can we focus on one thing at a time? The contractor comes in an hour." "The fund Dad set up before he died." "Your father set up a lot of things," my mother interrupted, her tone sharp. "I've been managing them for 15 years. I think I know what I'm doing." Maya's hand found mine under the table. "The college fund is specifically for Maya's education," I said slowly. My mother set down her tablet deliberately. "Your father was clear that I would have discretion over family finances. And right now your sister needs help." "My kitchen is literally falling apart," Jennifer added. "The cabinets are from the 90s. "We'll be fine," my mother cut me off. "There are loans, scholarships. But your sister is getting married in 8 months and needs a kitchen that can host family gatherings. This is about the whole family, not just one person's college dreams." Maya's hand tightened around mine. "How much are we talking about?" I asked. $65,000, Jennifer said brightly. "The contractor said we're getting a steal. The college fund is $68,000. "Perfect," my mother said, returning to the granite samples. $3,000 left over for textbooks." "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. Your sister needs a nice kitchen more than your daughter needs an expensive private university. Northwestern is overpriced anyway." Maya made a small sound beside me. When I turned, tears streamed down her face. She'd worked 4 years for this. Perfect grades, student council, hospital volunteering. Northwestern's biomedical engineering program had been her dream since freshman year. "The decision is made," my mother said. "I've already spoken to the bank. The transfer happens tomorrow." I stood slowly, helping Maya up. Every instinct screamed at me to rage, to flip the table. Instead I took a long breath. "Okay, I said quietly. My mother looked up, surprised. Okay. You've made your decision. In the car, Maya broke down completely, her composure dissolving into harsh sobs. It's not fair, she choked out. Grandpa left that money for me. He promised. I know, sweetheart, I said, my hands gripping the steering wheel. We drove in silence, Maya's crying subsiding into hiccups. One thought kept pushing through: my father had been thorough. Obsessively thorough. He'd been an estate attorney and he'd built protections into everything. I pulled into a coffee shop parking lot and took out my phone. Your Uncle John. John Martinez had been my late husband David's best friend and law partner. When David died 8 years ago, John helped me navigate the complex trusts my father had established. He'd insisted certain safeguards remain in place despite my mother's push to simplify things. He answered quickly. Sarah? Everything okay? I need to ask about the trust structure Dad set up. The college funds specifically. Pause. Interesting timing. Your mother was just here an hour ago. My pulse quickened. Authorization to transfer funds from the education trust. She said it was for your sister's wedding expenses. Pause. I told her I'd need to review the documentation. And, Sarah, remember the conversation after your father passed? About trustee designations? Your father named your mother as primary trustee, but he built in secondary approval requirements for transfers over $50,000. You're the co-trustee. You have been since you turned 35, 7 years ago. The parking lot tilted. I'm the co-trustee? Yes. Your father structured it so your mother handles day-to-day management, but major financial decisions require both signatures. It's in the trust documents I gave you. The blue folder. I remembered vaguely, too grief-stricken to fully process it all. So she can't transfer the college fund without my approval? Correct. And there's more. About 18 months ago, your mother started requesting increasing amounts for household expenses. $10,000–$15,000 a month. I've been documenting everything. How much total? Over the past year and a half? Around $240,000. Maya was staring at me now, tears forgotten, sensing something significant was happening. Where's that money going? I asked. That's what I'd like to know. Your mother has been increasingly aggressive about accessing funds. The college fund transfer request today was just the latest. Sarah, I think you need to review the complete trust activity. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? I'll be there at 9. After I hung up, Maya and I sat in silence for a long moment. Finally she spoke. What does this mean? It means Grandpa thought ahead. Way ahead. That evening I called my mother. She answered cheerfully, assuming I was calling to apologize. Sarah, I'm glad you called. I spoke with John Martinez. I interrupted quietly. A brief pause. Oh. He mentioned you need my signature for the transfer. That's just a formality. Some outdated requirement. You just need to sign a form. He also mentioned the $240,000 in household expenses over 18 months. A longer silence. When she spoke again, her warmth was gone. I don't appreciate you questioning my management. Your father left me in charge. He left us both in charge. That's what co-trustees means. The household expenses are at my discretion. $10,000 a month? What are you buying? That's none of your business. I'm entitled to live comfortably. On $250,000 over 18 months? While telling your granddaughter she can't have her college fund. Don't you dare lecture me, my mother snapped. I raised you. I took care of your father through cancer. I've managed this family's finances for 15 years while you focused on your little teaching job. I've earned the right to spend money without your permission. It's not your money, Mom. It's the family trust. I am the family. Your sister is the family. That college fund is family money and I'm allocating it where it's needed most. Sign the authorization. Jennifer's contractor needs the deposit by Friday. I kept my voice steady. I'm not signing it. Excuse me. I'm not authorizing the transfer. The money stays in Maya's college fund. You can't do this. I'll remove you as co-trustee. You can't remove me. Dad's trust structure doesn't allow it. And I'm meeting with John tomorrow to review all the trust activity for the past 18 months. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but for the first time in hours I could breathe properly. The next morning, John's conference room was covered in documents. Bank statements, trust paperwork, expense reports everywhere. "Here's the summary," John said, handing me a coffee. "Your mother has been systematically draining the trust's liquid assets. The $240,000 is just what I could track directly." "Where's it going?" "Your sister mostly. Condo down payment last year, $60,000. Her car lease, $18,000 annually. Credit card payments, $4,000 monthly. Plus vague family support expenses." "What about the main trust?" "The primary assets, commercial properties and the investment portfolio, are intact because they require both trustee signatures. But the liquid operating account your mother controls? Nearly empty. 6 more months and she would have needed to start selling assets. Which would require my signature." "Exactly. I think that's why she's desperate for the college fund. She's run out of money she can access unilaterally." Maya looked up from the documents. "Grandma spent my college money on Aunt Jennifer's lifestyle?" "It looks that way," John said gently. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now you decide. You can file a formal complaint. Your mother would likely be removed and face legal consequences. You can freeze her discretionary access and require dual approval for everything. Or you can try to work something out privately." I thought about my father and the protections he'd built. About the promises he'd made to Maya when she was 9. "I want her discretionary access suspended immediately. Everything requires both signatures from now on." "Done. I'll file today. And I want a complete forensic accounting of the past 5 years." John nodded. "I'll hire an auditor." "What about the college fund?" "It stays exactly where it is. And I want to know what other education funds exist. There's a trust for your sister's future children. Your father was thorough. Lock that down too. Everything requires both trustees. No exceptions." My phone started ringing before we'd even left John's office. My mother, then Jennifer, then my mother again. I let them all go to voicemail. The messages started coming through as we drove home. "Call me immediately." "What have you done?" "The bank says I can't access the accounts. This is financial abuse. You're destroying this family." Jennifer's messages were even more panicked. "Mom says you froze her accounts? What about my kitchen? The contractor starts Monday." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I took Maya to Northwestern's financial aid office, where we submitted her enrollment deposit using the college fund. The fund that was exactly where it should be, protecting exactly who it was meant to protect. That evening, my mother showed up at my house. I watched through the window as she got out of her car, her face red with fury. I almost didn't answer the door, but Maya touched my arm. "Let her in," my daughter said quietly. "Let her see." I opened the door. My mother pushed past me into the living room. "How dare you? How dare you freeze me out of my own money?" "It's not your money, Mom. It never was. I am the trustee. I have been managing." "You've been stealing. From your granddaughter. From your own family." "I provided for this family," my mother cried, her voice cracking. "I gave your sister the help she needed. I maintained the family home. I kept everything together after your father died. By raiding a college fund? By spending $250,000 in 18 months. You have no idea what it takes to maintain our lifestyle. Your father's death left responsibilities." "That's enough," I said, and something in my voice made her stop. "Dad set up the trust to protect us. All of us. And he knew exactly what he was doing when he made me co-trustee. He knew you'd need oversight." My mother's face went pale. "He trusted me." "He did. But he also knew you too well. He built in protections because he loved you and wanted to keep you from making mistakes you couldn't undo. So what now? You're going to cut me off? Leave me with nothing? You'll have your discretionary allowance. A reasonable one. But every major expense goes through both of us now. That's how Dad designed it, and that's how it's going to work." "And Jennifer's kitchen?" "Jennifer can take out a loan like every other adult." My mother stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in her expression. The realization that the power dynamic had fundamentally changed. She'd spent 15 years as the family's financial authority, and in one day that had ended. "I need that money," she said, and for the first time her voice was small. "Why?" Credit cards. Oh, I owe a lot. How much? She looked away. 87,000. The number hung in the air. John would find it all in the accounting anyway. We'll pay it off from the trust, I said finally. Once. And then you're on a strict budget with oversight. Those are your options. Take them or we let the lawyers handle everything. My mother left without another word. Through the window, I watched her sit in her car for 10 minutes before driving away. Jennifer called an hour later and this time I answered. I can't believe you're doing this to Mom, she started immediately. I'm not doing anything to Mom. I'm protecting what Dad built. Over a kitchen? You're really going to destroy our family over a kitchen renovation? No, Jennifer. You and Mom tried to destroy Maya's future for a kitchen renovation. I stopped it. Mom said she'd pay it back. With what money? The trust she'd already drained? Jennifer, did you know Mom owes $87,000 in credit card debt? Silence. Did you know she's been taking $4,000 a month to pay your credit cards? That's different. That's family helping family. Family helping family is not stealing from a college fund. Family helping family is not draining a trust fund to maintain appearances. So what, you're cutting us both off? No. I'm making sure the money Dad left goes where he intended it to go. Starting with Maya's education. I hung up before she could respond. 3 weeks later, Maya and I drove to Evanston to tour the Northwestern campus one more time. She'd been quiet since everything happened, processing the betrayal and the rescue in her own way. As we walked through the engineering building, she finally spoke. Grandpa really did think of everything, didn't he? He tried to. Did he know Grandma would do this? I considered the question carefully. I think he knew she might. And he loved her enough to protect her from herself. That's why he built in all those safeguards. And he trusted you to use them. Eventually. When I was ready. Maya stopped walking and turned to face me. Thank you. For fighting for me. I know it wasn't easy. You're my daughter. It was the easiest thing in the world. We stood there in the afternoon sun, on the campus where she'd spend the next 4 years becoming whoever she was meant to be. The money that would pay for it sat safely in the trust fund, protected by a man who'd died when Maya was 9 but who'd loved her enough to plan for her future. My phone buzzed. A text from John. Accounting complete. Your mother's discretionary spending total. $287,000 over 3 years. Your sister received 73% of it. Full report attached. I pocketed the phone without reading the attachment. There would be time for all of that later. The full accounting, the difficult family conversations, the slow process of rebuilding trust, or accepting that some things couldn't be rebuilt. For now, I just wanted to stand here with my daughter and imagine her future. The one she'd earned, the one my father had protected, the one she deserved. Come on, I said, linking my arm through hers. Let's go see the biomedical labs. I hear they have equipment your high school could only dream of. We walked across campus together, my daughter already talking excitedly about research opportunities and internships, her voice full of hope and possibility. Behind us, literally and figuratively, the people who'd tried to steal that future could only watch from a distance, finally understanding that some protections couldn't be bypassed, some promises couldn't be broken, and some trust funds existed for exactly moments like these.